Alright guys, well I took this apart this morning so I can get the hardware painted and whatnot, so I thought I'd do a rough quick video. This is what you need. I started with a 3/4 inch solid square stock bar, you know, about the width of the tailgate, a little narrower, and start here, you know, lay it in there and just mark where you need to start a bend. Heat at that mark with the torch and just put it in the vise and give it a slight bend till you're following this angle, and then it will have to bend again here. Again, mark it where the bend begins, put it in the vise. You've got plenty of leverage on that length of bar to just pull it and bend that. The latch here, the latch system for the tailgate sits right here, and this linkage rod and this arm sit on this side, and they have to operate in here. The linkage rod itself ran from probably where my finger is here, and it ran down on an angle to about here on this end, so kind of crossways through this gap. And as luck would have it, when they molded this plastic tailgate, they just left this wide enough that this 3/4 inch stock will sit in there, and it lays down in there, as you can see, with a little room to spare, and the linkage rod can still fit down through here. Now, these arms here, I cut them. I'll probably show you in another video, but I trimmed them here initially because I was trying to avoid having to cut this stock. In the end, even with those trimmed off, it would rub and the latch wouldn't work, so I notched this out. So probably you don't have to do any trimming here on these. Just take it out of here when you do it. And some of mine is a little overkill. I have excess room. It probably doesn't need to be this deep. This width, it doesn't even have to be that wide. That's simply 2 inches, because that's what my abrasive belt on my expander wheel of my grinder is, and I just used it in there. On this, where this slide is, you can see it raises up. That's what fits in this to get everything to fit down tight. And you can see where the whole latch, this part here, where it sticks up, that's what's milled out right here. And you can just, if you want it to be clean, you can just cut in there with a cutoff wheel on a 4.5 inch grinder vertically, and then, you know, use whatever you've got at your disposal, any kind of grinding wheel or belt sander or something to remove this. And in the end, you know, I got in this narrow one with a flapper disc on a grinder. And in the end, if you want it to be clean and flat and smooth, just clean it up with a sharp file and make it look nice, you know, if it matters to you. It doesn't have to be pretty. Nobody's gonna see it. So over here on the end, after I made this bend, you know, I left this a little long and I trimmed it to the length I wanted after. And all I did on the end is that's a piece of 1 inch by 1 inch angle iron, and it's about 1/8 inch thick, I guess. And this is the critical part, which I didn't know until I was going. For it all to work out, You know, I put a rivet nut in there. This could just be drilled and tapped if you'd prefer. But the way it works out is this is sitting flush on here. And where the hole has to be, it comes through, and you can see that the rivet nut just barely fits in there. And if this stock was any thicker, that wouldn't work out. And the other part of that is that when it's laying there in place, the latch mechanism is setting right on top of this, and that 1/8 inch thick angle iron is the perfect height. I thought I was being really smart, and I welded a brace in here across to make that stronger after I had the angle iron welded in place, not realizing that, you know, I had it tacked and all my latch mechanism was working perfect, and I welded that in there, and it wouldn't fit in anymore or function, and I had to grind and file all this back out of there. So when you weld that angle iron in place against the end of this 3/4 inch bar, just leave it like that, because that latch mechanism sets right on top of this, and if that is any taller or thicker of stock, it won't work and you can't put it together. So it just barely works out. I butted mine up against there originally and just welded it, and it's probably strong enough. This thickness here is part of the gusset I originally welded in to strengthen it, because the 1 inch stock comes back in here a little further. But you could leave this bar a little bit longer out here and key it, you know, grind into it with a cutoff wheel and key it so that slides into it, and then weld it, and it'd be a little stronger. That's one thought you could do there. This, just so you know, sorry for the crude video, guys. This isn't my profession. This distance is 1 inch from the outside of here to the inside of there. The outside of this sits directly at the edge of the outside of the tailgate. So this distance has to be 1 inch from there to there. Err on the side of just a hair short, and on mine, in the end, to take up the slack, 2 little washers go in here on one side between that and here, just to take up the slack. It's just a lot of tedious fitting until you get it right. What else? It's a 1.5 inch bolt that's gonna go all the way through this. And in the end, you're gonna have to drill out your original threads and hole. Use a 1/4 inch bit and drill that completely out, so the shoulder of this bolt fits through the latch mechanism and threads into your rivet nut or your stock here, however you choose to do that. So as you can see, the only metal in this original tailgate is this metal tube running through the back of here. The rest of this is hollow plastic. And this originally, right there and there was the end point, and the cable went into the latch, and all of this from here to there could flex and bend upward if you put weight on it. Now it's connected into the bar underneath. There's no leverage on this thin metal, and the bar can carry weight clear across the center. So as luck would have it, all this just barely worked out. I don't know how a person would just do metal in here to this plastic to just strengthen the end. This was the only thing I could come up with that would work, but somebody might have a better idea. This is good. I'm real happy with it. It's strong. So hope this helps.